Big Black Mike. And what are we going to talk about today? I have a question I want to ask Chris.
Okay.
What is the illusion of exclusive productions?
I'd say the illusion of our business is that we are just solely a production business. You come to us with a video idea, we show up, record, edit your project, and that's it. That's the biggest illusion that we have struggled with a bit, but I think what most people see when they look at exclusive productions. Now, the reality of it is people come to us saying, hey, we need a hero video for our brand. And what we do is we take that and completely dissect everything that makes their business who they are, where they're going with their marketing currently, and where we feel like they can improve their content, their strategy, and overall direction in business for long-term growth. And we help them come up with a plan for accomplishing that. And we do most of that on the pre-production onboarding calls, discovery calls. I mean, we'll spend hours just trying to dissect what their goals are, what their missions are, and what their values are, so that we can truly get them on the right path versus just giving them what they initially came to us for, which is a video. You know, our value, I think, lies there.
What is the separator between us and other production businesses when it comes to that?
Well, I think I kind of explained it a little bit. It's that we pour into the people, right? Not just the business, and we try and help them in any way we can. It's like if we go through the process of, you know, pitching a project and say things just don't align or they're not as motivated to do that as they thought they were in the beginning, we always open it up to like, hey, if there's any other way we can help you in your business, whether it be a connection or anything else, like let us know. We have a circle of really good people that we've built in our network over the past, 8 years to where we can probably help you in a way and solve a pain point maybe that we can't solve, but we know someone else that can.
Right.
And I think that's really what makes us different is because no longer are we just a video production service, as we're a solutions business. And we have a lot of friends that come to us for solutions. I mean, your phone's constantly blown up.
It's on fire.
It's on fire, and it's a blessing and a curse, right? But we're able to help these people outside of just video production, and we're seeing that come to fruition. I think more so now than ever.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing answer. Yeah, dude. I mean, things have changed and they've pivoted. What has been the biggest challenge to pivot? Sorry, what has been the year that we pivoted the most?
It's tough because every year it seems like there's bigger pivots, and I think that's just kind of how it goes. But I think last year was a big pivotal moment for us in realizing that we can't do all this on our own. If we maxed out our efforts and just constantly work 24/7, we're not going where we want to go long term. So how do we get there? It's people, right? We got to have other people that align with everything that we're going for, with their values, missions, and goals, to have them buy into what we're doing so that they can exceed and grow with us at the same time. And I think you saw that when I first came on and worked with you. And that's where you kind of got a lot of your fulfillment, is that in order to go where you wanted to go, you needed someone else that kind of helped fill in the gaps where you felt like were a bit of your pitfalls. And that extends to where we're at now too. It's like, okay, we have all of our time allocated towards bringing in new clients, making new connections, filming projects, and getting them in the door. But on the back end, when we're doing all those things, it's hard to fulfill on those orders that we already have on our plate. In order to do that, we have to bring people on or train them, and get them to a level to where they are doing what we're doing and hopefully better, right? That's the goal, is that we find people that are better at what we are already doing, and we put them in that role to excel and grow with us at the same time, and then eventually become leaders.
Right. Well, and that's kind of where I think when you first started working, we started working together, I think probably a lot of people saw it as like, oh, this is an advantage for me, right? Like, oh, Chris is working with Weston, blah, 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 blah. I don't think people really know the true answer.
Of what question?
It wasn't really a question. It's just more so like when you first started working, right? It was that I got fulfillment out of, a lack of something that I needed, right? Mm-hmm. Did I have a lot of things I lacked? Yes. but my motive wasn't to help me solve those things.
No.
My motive was actually, I don't even know if you know this, was it goes back to potential and what I saw. I saw someone that could have a happier, better life doing what I am doing versus what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't I give to that? Why wouldn't I put time into somebody that I see it going, okay, 9 to 5, cubicle. I know the life I live. I know how fun it is. I know how cool it is. I know the experiences that come along with it. Why wouldn't I try to help someone see it?
Yeah. And I think before we even got to that, at least, tell me if I'm wrong, but you saw the burning desire and passion that I had and I'd come into on my own before you were like, okay, I see a lot of potential in him in this area, because we've been friends for, 13 years now. So I'd say for the most part, you've seen a lot of potential in my life, but to direct it towards like this, what we're doing together now, I think you had to see that I had just a passion on my own for doing this and that I wanted to do anything to make it work. And then you're like, oh, wow, this is what Chris can really be good at. I'm going to help him change his life. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I got to visually see, right?
Yeah.
And that's the visionary in me, is I get to see things a lot of times before other people see them.
You're great at that. That's one of your gifts.
Yeah, no, I mean, even, it's a blessing and a curse for you because you were one of the first people that I got to do it with, right? So like, cool, I have an awesome test dummy, right? Now look at us, 4 years later. But, Aaron and I started this stuff a long time ago, man. And Aaron's been a big blessing in my life in a lot of ways. He helped me get creative. He forced me to shoot content. He forced me to take photos. Like, we had a system down for a long time, so I knew that there's certain people that you give your time to and there's certain people you don't.
Mm-hmm.
In the video production space, you don't give time to people that won't do it on their own.
Yeah.
If you have to force someone to click a button, fire them.
I think that applies to, areas outside of production too. I think it's a pretty broad, like.
Well, and that depends on the person, right? Like, I know that you could go back in engineering and you would still give it 100%, right? I'm not that person. I can't give 100% sometimes to certain things. I just cannot physically, mentally do it. As much as I want to pretend I am.
Yeah.
And I did construction, yeah. There was times where I was 150%.
Yeah, well, that's you personally. I guess I'm saying, like, in any business, in any realm of life, if you have to force someone to do it, they're going to eventually burn out and their motivation will die.
They won't have fun doing it, but they will do it, right?
Yeah, true.
I'm not one of those people.
Okay.
Like, I've never been that person. If I don't love soccer, I'm not going to play soccer. If I'm not going to love this job, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I've probably kind of always been like that, which is why a lot of people like second guessed what I was going to do, because I tried everything.
Yeah, you did, but that's also how you came to find this.
Right, but that was also a reason that I lacked in certain areas because, I was so excited. Like, I was a kid, the ice cream truck, like, oh, I want all the ice cream, like, I was always that kid.
Yeah.
And I'm still that kid. I hate to be limited in areas that I am passionate about something. Like, if you're on earth, why the fuck would you limit your passions? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But people tell you to prioritize financials versus passions.
That's why we're able to grow.
And you look at the painter, right? Like, everybody tells a painter they're never going to make it. And then they make it. And they have the most fulfilled, happy life probably because they did something. One, nobody told them they could do it. And two, they're passionate about it from the day they started to the day they're still doing it.
Yeah, and along the way, as you grow a business and as we've grown ours, some of the things that you love to do and why you got started in it shift, and you're not able to do some of those things near as much, and you have to step into other roles that, for one, you probably never thought you'd step into or had to, and then also those probably don't fulfill you. They might drain you, and we have a lot of that too.
Yeah.
But it's keeping in mind like why you got started, what your fuel is, and where you're going. Keeping all of those in mind is really what keeps you going, because motivation is not always there, and most often it's not. It's just having that gratitude of, I have the ability to continue moving forward and growing, and being happy with that, I think.
I mean, dude, you're 100% on track, right? Shifting into, okay, I really like cameras, to shifting into people was different. That was challenging.
Yeah, it was.
Right? Like, you're a technical guy.
Yeah, I love
it's like, wait a minute,
details.
do I really have to entertain people to scale? Is that really something that I have to do, Weston?
Yeah, yeah.
Not that you weren't that person, but it's something that I saw before you saw in a way where like you don't really see the light you shine sometimes. And I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah. Well, some people are communicators and some people, you know, we talk about it, have influence with their actions. And that's a pretty good definition of me for the most part of my life, is setting an example with the actions and the way I moved and my discipline, not necessarily how I spoke, because I didn't always have the confidence built up to speak on those things because I was afraid of not being accepted. But I knew that if I moved a certain way and people noticed, that there was no room for that.
No,
Like,
I mean, yeah. I mean, when we went to Mexico and you saw your own light, you know, we have this whole analogy with the light and, you know, pushing the power on the batteries and the shell, the flashlight, and where does the light shine? It's like there's good and bad. Your light can shine in a direction that doesn't need to be over there.
mm-hmm.
Right. So like identifying where you need to use your gift or where you need to get uncomfortable and then shine your light is like, okay, I need to shine this flashlight around a little bit and figure out what lane I actually need to drive on.
Yeah.
That part's difficult for people.
Is it difficult for you?
It was because I was so cautious because I was afraid I wouldn't be liked or loved for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we always live with that, right? And then you get to a phase where you really get to know people, and the only way I got to know people was asking the right questions to get the better answers. And once I realized these people weren't above me, they actually weren't happy. They actually weren't financially in a good place, but they're judging me. They don't like me. Why should I like them? Right? Why should I bend who I am to validate somebody that's not happy? Why should I bend in a direction to be around somebody because they have a big house, even though they're shitty people? I don't have to live that way anymore. You either like me or you don't, and if not, I just keep moving because we have an army of people that actually buy into how we think, how we shine our light. And I think that all took research and time and awareness to develop the identity that we had. I didn't know my identity, bro. I was told my identity. Somebody wrote my book. Somebody typed each paragraph because I can't fucking type or spell. And that's what I thought I had to believe, man. It was like a contract. It's like I signed my life away for other people. And when I say it that way, it's like, what in the fuck was I thinking? Like, I would have ripped that contract up if someone told me that I had to live this specific life.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that box, right?
Fucking box.
We talk about it a lot.
Well,
Box
and
of
then
faces.
you're accepted in that box, right?
By the wrong people, though.
Well, they might not be the wrong people.
Well,
There
they
could
might
be good people around your box. Like, there's no doubt about that. Your box, like, dude, your mom, freaking amazing. She's still in your box in a good way,
yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah,
you have
for
your
sure.
people in your corner, like a boxing match. It's you versus you in a way.
Yeah, but
Like,
in
who's
a
in your corner?
In a sense, also, like, my mom has always been supportive of any decision I've made, you know, whether it be leaving college or going to college. But in a sense, she has limited her beliefs and, you know, a vision of her life in a sense, not because she's done things that she didn't have to do. I mean, she strapped up and took care of me and my brother for the good majority of our lives, and I still don't know how she did it on a teacher salary. But, you know, she has limiting beliefs about risk and growth, and, you know, we're stepping into a new realm of business these days that she doesn't quite understand, and so she's wary about it.
I was about to bring that up. It's so funny now. And, dude, she was terrified for me. Like,
Oh yeah, she was.
She was terrified of,
Weston.
like,
She views Weston as her son, by the way.
yeah,
So,
and she was terrified. She's like, I don't know where Weston's going, what he's doing. Like, she was always terrified. Now it's so funny to see, okay, Chris became an entrepreneur. Okay, well, this is working. Then Andrew decided to be an entrepreneur, and she's like, oh, this is working. And now she's kind of accepted that, like, wait a minute, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be happy, you can work your own schedule. I think she's leaning more into that side, even though she's worried about the risk sometimes.
she is, yeah, for sure.
I don't think she worries about it.
Not so much as where she did in the beginning. Whenever I'm sitting down at Christmas dinner and I get a call, and then all of a sudden I'm quitting my job, because I've always been the one to take like immediate change and immediate like pivots in my life of, oh, I'm going to do this now. And they're like, wait, did you think about it? Like, have you been thinking about this for a while, or is this just like an immediate decision? And that's just kind of how I move. And I feel like that's kind of how you do too. And so at first she was really worried that if this is something that I'm just feeling in the moment or if this is something that I'm committed to. And I think she had that feeling mostly because I hadn't been in constant communication with her about like, I don't care how long it takes and how long I have to be like on the street to figure this out. I'm not going to sit in this cubicle anymore and waste away my life. I'm going to live and take a chance at something that I know I love to do. And I think she saw that, which is why she held back a bit, but she was still very, very worried.
Well, I think she knows the difference between you and your brother.
Yeah, she does.
Like I see that shit I've seen it for forever.
Yeah, you know us better than anyone probably.
Yeah. You know, I'm the one that playing quarterback. I'm going to launch that motherfucking long ball, dude.
With no receiver, by the way.
Like I'm going to launch it and try to go catch that bitch myself.
Yeah.
Now, then it goes to you. You're like, okay, cool. I'll be halfback. I'll take some collision. I'll run some shit over to get to the end zone, right? And then Andrew's playing safety, right? He's evaluating. He's looking. He's catching. He's, it's systems. It's people. It's all these things. And then, oh wait a minute, I found the ball. Then I catch it. Then I run to the touchdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think your mom knew that.
Yeah.
I think your mom knew that y'all both work hard. I think she knows effort. She knows time. It was just when you guys were going to take that leap, right?
Yeah. She has that belief, which is one of my strengths and my gifts is, I think I got it from my mom, is that she always believed in us no matter what we did. And she always had support.
Do you think you've gotten better at belief in people or the right people?
I think it's the right people. Because we talk about it so often, naturally, I identified as like an introvert, right? So anytime I was out in a public setting and communicating with people, new people mostly, I'd be drained by the end of it. But I realized if I gave my energy to the right people, right, that are going for the same things in life that I'm going for and kind of align a bit better, I'm fueled by those things.
So what about though, like a new person? You meet them and they share their dreams. Like, are you excited for them? Do you believe them? Are you kind of hesitant? Like, how do you feel about that?
I'm excited for them, but I'm always skeptical. And that's the realist in me, because a lot of people can be excited in the moment, but to carry on with that and be consistent and persistent is pretty rare.
Can you explain to people why that's a good and bad thing?
It's a good thing because it's essentially like a body armor, and it can protect you, right, from placing your energy and time and effort in the wrong areas. But at the same time, you never know where that person's going to go in life. So I think it's a little negative in a sense. And that's something that I've battled majority of my life is whenever someone comes to me with something positive or something great that's happened, I always think about like, how could it go wrong? Right. Which is technically a negative tendency, but it's just me being protective, right? Because being raised in an environment where your parents split up at 10 and your whole world just gets torn apart and nothing makes sense anymore. It's like you think your parents are together forever and you have both of them and they live in the same house and sleep in the same bed, and that's the way the life's supposed to go. But that's just not reality. And I was hit with a good dose of reality when I was younger, and I think that's where a lot of it comes from. So in terms of positive and negative, I think it's good to be protective and to protect your energy, but at the same time, it kind of closes your mind in a sense. And that's what you've helped me do, is open it a bit more into trying to see the potential and the positive and help pull more of that out of them versus just being skeptical in your brain and expecting them not to follow through with what they're saying.
Right. I would say, I keep saying that in podcasts a lot, because I'm very skeptical in a totally different way. I like to see, I guess when I think about it, if that person made it, would I have rather been the person that said, what if this worked, or that's not going to work?
Yeah, because you had that.
Yeah, no, and that was the thing. Is like, what if I'm the one person that's like, yeah, you can go do this.
Yeah.
And then what if they actually go build this or, cure this? Like, what's that feel like?
Yeah.
I'll take that chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe that's what they need.
But that's why I do it, because I'm like, I didn't have that in a way until I met you. And
Yeah.
right. Like, crazy idea until it happens. But then if you research everybody that you look up to everybody, artist, business owner, actor, actress, athlete, most of the time they had that same opportunity. What if this happens? They either had an army of people that believed in them or they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And at first it was probably didn't, realistically.
Yeah.
Like when we were talking earlier, like Kobe Bryant did not score 1 point at 13 years old in this specific league. Not 1 point. Kobe Bryant.
That's wild.
You know what his dad told him?
Mm-mm.
I don't care if you score a point. I love you.
Hmm.
That's all he said.
And then he became Kobe Bryant.
And then year 14, he was the MVP of the league.
That's crazy, man.
He knew that no matter if he won, no matter if he lost, no matter if he scored a point, he was loved. That's all he needed to be Kobe Bryant. That's the thing that I want to leave Earth with. That's the legacy for me. It's like, okay, if I tell people yes, 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 and three of those people out of 50 say actually do it, I has a difference. I was actually a difference. I wasn't the negative people like every single body else. It was like, no, it's never going to work.
Yeah. And I'd say I lean more towards that nowadays than before. My mindset.
Yours isn't a bad way though. Like that's where I think you might be confused is you might be logical and aware and protective, but you're going to help them find a way if they put the effort in.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah. I need to see them put in the work and put their skin in the game in order for me to like actually believe that they can do these great things that they want to do or they say they want to do. Is like I have to see a little proof in the pudding first, and then I'm like, yep, this guy's gonna be great. I mean, I saw it with Jack, right? And I can only say good things about Jack. Is like when he first came to us with those videos that he ripped from YouTube and added like little effects and transitions and captions and stuff. I mean, we both could see it, but I knew right then and there is like, this guy has drive. He can put the effort in regardless of the tools that he has to make whatever he just did. And I see him going long-term with this, even though he had just started.
I mean, he's moving milestones.
Oh, he's going way faster than me or you have.
I've told you this for forever at this point, I feel like, but I was a person in Ewan's life. You were a person in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Jack was the person in your life.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that.
It's a trifecta. It just keeps going down the line of like, there's going to be, I told him, I was like, Chris, there's going to be one person in your life that's you. And you're going to give a lot of eggs, bro. You're going to give time. You're going to give effort. You're going to give money. And it's going to all be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, that's Jack. Like,
it's cool.
You call Jack every day. Like, I don't have that same relationship with Jack like you do. Obviously, we're close, but you know, if you didn't see the value and the time and effort that Jack puts in, like you wouldn't put it in either.
No, I love to call him.
But seeing him turn into you and be better than you is the motive for you.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think the community exclusive is going to be life-changing to a lot of people is like, we actually believe, not only do we believe, we're going to help you get there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love to step back and let you do your thing with Jack. It's so cool to watch,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and then the day that Jack teaches somebody, you're gonna shit your pants.
It's gonna be so cool. It's
You're gonna
coming
be like,
fast.
You're gonna be like, dude, he was just in a freaking cradle, dude. Now he's walking like.
I know, and he's like, I mean, Jack's a sweetheart, right? He's a big teddy bear, but then like I hear him bark back sometimes, and like at first I'm like, ugh, but then I'm like, I love it. Like because
that was you.
He's getting that confidence.
That was you.
He has like input, and he's like stern about it. I just love to see that, you know, because I see a younger version of myself.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't think I ever really gave you like hard criticism, but if I did give you any feedback, you kicked back and then you would explain why, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
right, and it was good to have that backbone. It was good to have that confidence, and like that's why a lot of times, dude, I just shut up. I'm like, if he feels this passionate about it, it's because he's thought about it.
Yeah, I do. I feel like that's one of my strengths too. Is like if I speak, I've really thought about my words and the way I want to say them, and whatever I'm speaking on is like, I've thought about it. Is the best way to put it.
No, yeah. I mean, we even had a voice note today, and it's funny because what Chris did today is what I have to do usually with people.
He had to filter me.
And I had to be a Chris today, and Chris had to be a me, and it was just funny because he's like, I think it's good. And I'm like, it's a little emotional. But it's funny, man, when you start connecting with people, and man, it's so hard when people are impatient. God damn, I've dealt with that so many times, bro.
Especially when you're just trying to help them out. and then they're like, I need it now.
I know, and that's the hard part, dude. It's people are difficult. People managing is draining AF. You know, how do you, Chris, manage that?
I think it goes back to those three things that we talk about. That what are those three things that make you happy, right? Because when you gives, a lot of times your cup goes empty, and that happens no matter how protective you are of it. Like you get drained. We both do. We've seen that. But how do you fill your cup back up? Well, what are those three things that make you happy? For me, it's nature, family, and growth, right? So growth means constantly improving my physical appearance inside and out. So I guess it's not just physical. It's, being active, getting my workouts in, eating a healthy diet, and spending time with the people that I love. That's you, my family, my close friends, my girlfriend, and then also, God. God's a big part of that puzzle, and I've strayed away from it, in the past 5-6 years of my life, but I've really come back to, establishing a better relationship with God. And I've noticed the weight that it's taken off of my shoulders of worry, stress, anxiety. I don't have those things because I'm not in control, right? I'm not in control. It's not me calling the shots. I'm moving throughout life, but the plan is already in place, and I'm going where he wants me to go.
Have
right?
you ever had a specific moment and you pops to mind when God showed that to you?
I think it's really just the fact that, to be honest, I've made a lot of stupid decisions in my life, and I really shouldn't be here, to be honest. Like I've done some really dumb things, and the fact that I am still here and I am healthy and I am able, it really just proves to me that I'm meant for more impact, to help others. And I'm not just here for myself, because we talk about it, and you remember that conversation in the kitchen is, I want the house, I want the cars, I want the money. That's not even a thought in my brain anymore. It's how do I provide for my family? How do I live a life that I feel like is worth living? And how do I stay fulfilled constantly and give that to others as well? It's a complete shift. Just the way I've been going about life, I feel like.
That was one of your best takes, bud.
That was honest. I mean, you saw my little nervous twitch in there too.
No, that was purity, right? That was Chris breaking down some of his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been the cool thing to watch is seeing people. When he says growth, I don't think y'all understand the growth that he's talking about truly. I think you got to understand where Chris has gone, where he's been to where he is now. And growth for him, y'all might see physical, but it's not even a thing that pops in my head. I don't even look at the physical aspect of Chris. Growth as an aspect of, like, we just started listening to audiobooks probably last year. Probably.
Consistently for me last year, but you've been probably a little bit longer than
No,
I have.
Man, I started that not that long ago, dude.
Okay.
We both started that, and I was too good for podcasts. Like, I wasn't consistent with it. I listened to, Andy Frisella, but I didn't know anybody else.
Yeah.
I had no idea who anybody else was, right? I don't even know how I got caught up on Ed Milet. I have no idea. But the growth aspect of what you've taken on in the last year mentally has been a calmer version than you've ever been in your life.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right?
Yeah.
You talk about stress. There was one point, you were stressed at the apartment. I'll never forget. You were stressing.
Yeah.
And then it was like a clarity moment right before we went to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were pretty intense then.
Yeah, I was.
Not in a bad way, just there was a lot of operations moving. You have futures coming. You have how to make people happy in the future. Like, you had a lot of things going on, but now knowing God's like taking control of it is the growth that I've seen in the last 2 or 3 months, where you're just like, life's going to happen.
Yeah, it's the mindset shift, really. It's being at peace in the chaos. And that's what you have to do as an entrepreneur, business owner, really just in life. As you grow older, you gain more responsibilities, and bad things are going to happen. It's not always going to be happy-go-lucky. And it's just finding that moment of peace and clarity in the fact that I am not in control. I am a child of God, and I am enough. And I mean, I learned that from Al. Shout out to Al Herrera. I mean, I get chills now just talking about it because, like I said, the weight that comes off your shoulders when you realize that is immense.
It's peace.
It's
right?
immense.
Man, I had a moment in time where I had $40 in my pocket. This was just after me and my dad got in a big brawl.
I remember this.
And I didn't know if I was going to go back to work. Didn't know what I was going to do. I had $20 in my pocket, dude. And I was like, I can't ask my dad for groceries. Like, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm either going to have to go work harder or I'm going to have to do something. Like, I can't. Anyway, and I remember just being just mad, irritated, frustrated, like freaking out, stressed. Like, that was one of the most pivotal days that I ever had. I've never been that stressed. And I remember having my $40 in my pocket, and I was like, God, well, I'm not in control. My hands are hands, but you're the one that I got to trust, right? Like, I got to get in your hands. And I'll never forget, dude, I prayed that day. And, dude, I know this sounds nuts, dude, but a couple hours later, I got a call from Neil Hamill for a $1,500 modeling job.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And,
Wow.
and it was one of those times where it was just like, when you need it, he's there.
Mm.
When he pushes you in a position that's uncomfortable, if you just trust it, it's all for the reason. It's all going to happen the way it needs to. And, like, I'll never forget that moment. So, like, when things get stressful here or times get rough or this, that, and the other, I'm like, don't need to.
Mm.
And do I get stressed and do I get anxious? For sure. But I've also understood, like, that's life. I'm not in control.
And we're meant to feel those things.
Right. And it's just like, you gotta take the risk. You gotta trust the process. Like, your heart will lead you where you need to, and God will tell you where to go as long as you decide to listen. And I've learned that in many different phases of my life.
Yeah, I love that. Would you say that was kind of like you asked me about my moment where you really just I felt God speak to me? Was that your moment?
It was definitely that was the moment of trust.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, do I trust God? Is he really looking out for me? You know, like, I went to church my whole life. Cool.
Yeah.
You know, like, does he care about me? Does he not care about me? Like, to me, that's not just for something random.
Yeah, and at this moment in time, there was a lot of destruction and chaos in your life too. So that was a big piece of it, not just the business and like where you were going to work or what you were going to do. It's just in your personal life, there was a lot of trauma going on. You know?
Yeah, no, I had a lot of fucked up things happen at that period in time. Dude, I'll never forget, dude. I'll never forget this till the day that I die. I remember waking up at the apartment, taking the trailer and truck all the way to the houses that we were building. And dude, I'll never forget this. I was driving, and dude, you know me, my dad's relationship was fucking terrible. I was getting screamed at. I was just a stupid young kid. I didn't know anything, whatever. But I've always been like the giving guy. Like, I've always wanted to help people. I've always done that. But I've never in my life stopped on the side of the road. Have I told you this story?
I think maybe.
I've never stopped on the side of the road, bro, to pick somebody up.
Oh, yeah, I remember this. Go ahead.
And I remember driving down, and there's this guy, like, not far from the house, and he's walking down the side of the road, dude, and I do not know where, why, what motivated me to pull over with a truck full of trailers and a truck to check on this guy. I would never do this in my life.
It's risky.
Yeah. And, you know, and anyway, I pull up to this guy, and this guy's just bawling. And I'm like, hey, brother, like, everything going on. He didn't look like a homeless guy, you know, it wasn't one of those kind of things. And anyway, and he's just, dude, can't breathe. He's hyperventilating. And I'm like, dude, get in the car. And dude, I start talking to this guy, and he's like, my wife left me, like, my kids left me, like, I'm not going to be a dad anymore. Dude, just broken, like, tears running down his face. And I'm like, I start talking to him, and I just start giving him some encouragement. Like, it's all going to be okay, dude. Like, God's going to help you figure this out. And, like, we drove down the road. He's finally calms down a bit, and, you know, I think we actually prayed, to be honest. And as soon as we prayed, he's like, dude, I just got to get out of the car. I got to walk. I got to calm down. And I remember just dropping him off. And I was like, hey, brother, if you need anything, I'm right down here to the left. And when I told him that, I never thought I'd see the guy ever again in my life. Dude, 2 weeks later come by. This guy pulls up in the long driveway. My dad's at the front of the freaking road. I'm like, I have no idea who it is, right? And you see this guy at the end of the driveway, and finally he pulls up, and this guy gets out of the car, doesn't say a thing to me, and just gives me the biggest hug you can possibly have.
Hmm.
And at that time, in that moment, this random person that I don't even know his name, he doesn't know my name, is giving me a hug. And he said, "Hey, man, you saved my life, you saved my marriage, and you saved my kids."
Wow.
And dude, I'll never forget. I went, like, I'm getting crazy chills down my legs right now. I go back in the house, and dude, I just start bawling.
Hmm.
Like, saying hi to somebody, checking on them, did that. I saved somebody's life by, never in my life would I pull over and do that. And that was the outcome that I got.
So simple too.
That was the most, I've never cried tears of joy in my life, ever. And that day forward was the same time period that I didn't have any money. And I'm like, how am I have more fulfillment checking on people than I do money? Huh.
Something to that, huh?
Right. And I'm like, that's interesting. So from that day forward, man, it was just really important to me to check on people, see how they were doing. And that's kind of, dude, realistically why I am the way I am.
I got to toot your horn a little bit. Your communication skills are on a whole new level. I mean, people don't understand, but you get blown up. I'm sure you've gotten 40 text messages. Us just sitting here. So the fact that you're able to keep up with, all of your close friends outside of business and make sure that you're being accountable to them and good friends is very commendable and something I look up to quite a bit, because it's tough. I struggle with that.
I'd say it's really, really, really hard. And I think somebody that's even better than me on that is Ryan Boswell, because he's created a system. I suck at systems.
Well, to do it without a system is impressive.
Yeah, I've created my own shitty systems, right? The hardest part is you give so much to people and they feel so close to you, which also makes them feel like you're their time. Like, you give them so much that they feel so close to you that when they text you, well, he was like this in person, or
yeah,
he spent an hour with me on this day when he got on the phone with me, but now I can't talk to him for 3 days. Like,
yeah,
the struggle is that people don't understand my life, my responsibilities, my priorities. And, the hardest part is trying to not take on other people's emotion and don't take things as personal.
Yeah,
that's
tough.
been the biggest challenge for me, is like, is this person coming at me or not? Right? Because I get defensive. I'm like, why is this person speaking to me this way? Because I haven't spoke to them in 3 days. Like, dude, if you want to come jump in my shoes, jump. But at least try to understand where I'm coming from, because I'm trying my hardest.
And you do a really good job of that on the other end of, maybe someone jumps at you in a text message probably the wrong way, and it gives a natural reaction, right? But then you think about, this is what I'm really proud of you for, is maybe they're going through something difficult right now.
That's the first thing I have to think about.
Whether
it's you, whether it's my dad, whether it's business. Stop, Weston, stop. Because, dude, I had this analogy the other day, and I'm like, when a motorcycle goes too fast, it crashes. When anything goes too fast, it breaks. Think about it.
Yeah.
The machine shop.
Yeah.
If something goes too fast, it can't maintain what's going on. And that's how I've ran my life for so long. Think about it.
Yeah.
I'm nonstop. I'm 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Dude, if I'm running at the fastest rate that I am now and I fall, I'm going to break something. Stop, Weston. Stop, Weston. Maybe they're going through something.
Yeah.
Emotion to motion, right? I want you to talk about Dino 1-2, but what does emotion mean to motion mean?
I don't know. That might be a question for you. What does emotion to motion mean to you?
Well, shout out Dino. Amazing human being, giver. He told us something while we were at First Form the other day that just blew both of our minds completely. Like,
Yep.
I'll never in my life forget this. Your first thought is uncontrollable. Your second thought is controllable. You can always change your second thought, right? So then you think about emotion to motion, action to reaction. How am I going to solve the problem, and how am I going to have a solution? Right? Problem, solution. And that's how we have to think, especially when it comes to text messages, comes to people, arguments, communication. That's what I got to work on, is Cool. Mind automatically goes to bad thought. But my second thought does not have to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's the 80-20 rule.
And over time, as you get those reps in, when those similar situations pop up, your second reaction can become your first action in a sense. And you can kind of bypass that emotional response that we most often get when tough situations come our way, right?
Yeah.
So it's building those reps and having that awareness of, okay, my emotional response at the beginning isn't what's going to help solve this problem. Okay, next steps, how do we solve this problem? Your brain will naturally go there over time as you build those reps, right? And I think that's what Dino was saying. And,
Right.
and that was my biggest takeaway for sure
Yeah,
from First
dude.
Form. When I heard that, I was like, we got to get you on a pod right now down at the
Yeah.
studio and say this for us.
Yeah.
Shout out to
needs,
Dino.
He needs to speak on that. I mean, I just thought of something actually. It's like the 1-2 punch, right? The one punch is a baby jab, right? You're never going to hit somebody with your second hit. Like if you throw your second hit first, if you throw your right hook and you're right-handed, you're not landing the punch,
Yeah.
right? The first punch is usually a baby jab to the chin where it's like, hey, man, I'm a little dazed and confused, and then you throw your haymaker.
Yeah. Or
Like-
to pull them in.
Right. And so when I think about problem solution, I think a lot of times I specifically will hyper focus on the problem. And that's the only thing I can think about. Instead of going, wait a minute, I'm not mad at you. I love you. I don't hate you. Why don't I just step back and go over here and think about the solution? That's what I got to work on. And that's the action to reaction, right? It's like,
Yeah.
stop hyper focusing on the problem,
Yeah.
hyper focus on the solution.
Yeah.
In relationships. Like when
That's
somebody
a big
irritates
one.
you and frustrates you, like stop. You're going too fast. Quit focusing on the problem. Figure out the solution of why that shouldn't happen again. And I feel like that's been just something I have to start doing.
You have started, but just refining it, getting better, right? Is probably what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, if you could, if I could have a superpower, and everybody probably wants to fly, everybody probably wants to do this, that, and the other. If I could take a superpower, and if I could have anything, it would be that someone's irritated, someone's frustrated, someone's mad, and they come to me, and by the end of a conversation, they're calm. Like, I want to learn how to be the water instead of the fire or the storm.
You want to be a therapist, brother?
I feel like, well, and it's, I'm attracted to therapy. I'm attracted to how people think. I'm attracted to how people do things. That fascinates me.
Mm-hmm.
I hyper focus on it.
Yeah.
And I do it I do it because I want to know why people think the way they do, why they get angry, so that we can stop having those problems, myself included. Why the fuck do I get irritated?
Yeah.
Why do I get frustrated? It's because I have an expectation or a potential in somebody and they don't do it.
That's one thing I love about you is you're constantly questioning everything, right?
And blessing and a curse, for sure.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, right? But I think it's a blessing more than anything because people go throughout life and just accept what comes their way and they don't question it, which is why long term they live an unfulfilling life and they look back and they're like, why did I just do that?
Well,
Right.
you can't innovate anything without questioning it.
Yeah, I mean, to become more interesting, you have to be more interested, right?
Right.
You
And
got to ask those questions.
And you got to do it internally, right? Like, in a lot of it's instinct and common sense, right? It's raining outside, right?
Yes.
If it started raining like this for 4 days straight, I'm automatically turning into Noah. Like, I am going to find a way to build a goddamn boat. Like,
I hope it doesn't come to that, but
I know, but what I'm saying is like instinct, right? Innovative thinking. Okay, well, if it keeps raining like this, like, what's going to happen? Right? That's
house
how my
gets
brain
flooded.
thinks with everything. If I do this, what's the outcome? And I try to think about those things before they happen, which has also been very beneficial, but it's also made me overthink things that aren't real,
yeah.
which is good, right? I am a visionary. I vision things that aren't real constantly.
Yes.
What's wrong with that? Could be bad, could not be bad, right? But it helps me clarify certain things of why I need to do them versus why I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Should I say this to this person? Is it going to upset this person?
Yeah.
Right? If I do this and we decided we're going to build a studio, well, why are we building a damn studio? What is a studio going to do? Right? It's going to attract the right people that we want around us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've thought of every corner in that thing in my head. every phase, okay, we have one here, we have one in Florida, we have one in Cali, we have a loft in New York. Like, dude, my brain has thought of every option with what we wanted to do.
Yeah, everything all at once. That's Weston's brain.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I never have. I need to be like a controlled jockey where the horse just runs around in a circle. I would lose my mind. I'm like,
He needs a fence sometimes.
yeah, sometimes I need a fucking fence. I'm like, oh, sweet. But then my ass would try to jump over it. Like, it doesn't always make sense, and that's okay.
You absolutely need someone to kind of balance that, especially if you are the visionary and the go-getter in your business and you're going 100 miles an hour. You got to have someone that kind of hones you in sometimes to keep you moving towards that next step versus getting so caught up in like the vision and the goal and the dream. Not that you don't have that by any means, but it's just good to have that balance because, you know, I can speak from the other side of it. Having someone looking forward constantly, it sometimes drains me because I think I have to have all the systems in place in order to get there, and it overwhelms me in my brain.
That makes sense.
Right? So for you to just dream and then for me to take those dreams and kind of refine them and figure out, okay, this is where we can move if this is our end goal, helps me a lot, and I find a lot of peace in that. So finding that balance or someone that helps you find that balance is very important.
Yeah, and I like to picture it as okay, most people are the world, right? Me and Chris and a few other people decided we were going to get in a rocket ship, right? We do things and risk because we want to see the outside perspective.
Yeah.
Right? We want to be different. We want to stand out. Okay, well, rocket ship blasts off Earth, goes into the sky, and looks around, right? And then I think it's funny because, you know, in all the movies, like one person decides to go drift outside the rocket ship, you know, and then everybody in this rocket ship's like, hey, man, get back here, dude. And I like to think of that as like me and Chris sometimes. We're like, he has to pull me back into the rocket ship. We know we're going somewhere, but like I'm over here just playing around, figuring out what happens.
So
Chris pulls me back in a lot of times.
Yeah, Weston likes to float around sometimes.
I float. I'm a
But
floater.
we keep a leash on him these days.
I have to. I have to. If not, I don't know what I'd be doing.
Shit.
My brain just doesn't stop, which is good, you know. But
Speaking of stopping, we're going to stop this podcast.
yeah, I'm hungry.